No. Everyone can see and hear me.
Everyone can see and hear you. What's up, kids? Tom Clark here, social media manager for Secret Foundation, with the one and only Kevin Smith. Kevin, how are you, sir?
So good, man. I'm here at VCon, kids. Let me show you what VCon looks like from the cheap seats. They got a Ferris wheel over there. They have the big stage I was on before. They took over this place where they play football.
Oh, wow.
And they're doing the whole show here. It's astounding. What a community. What a welcoming community that I've been greeted by here today. I got to go up and give a speech on stage and talk about KillRoy Was Here, our drop, and talk about creating and making stuff. It seemed to be very well received. I'm here with David Shapiro, of course, producer.
What's up, Dave? How are you, man?
I like the beard very, very much.
I need to get it trimmed. I never got around to it.
And there's my boy Austin Zager, Crypto Kid.
What's up, Austin?
Secret networks, man.
They love secret networks.
Awesome. We do too. I'm glad to hear it. So,
we finished the talk and whatnot, and now we're just bombing around. We're gonna, if you want, we could take you to the flea market and show you what that looks like.
Absolutely. We're along for the ride.
Or if you just want chit chat before we do anything, ask questions and stuff.
Sure, we can do that too.
Let me go to a quiet place. Let's it's a little loud. Hey kids, can we close this? It'll probably cut the noise down. Then I could hear yeah, that's all right.
There you go. The man says close the door and the door gets closed. That's power.
Now
right
we
there.
can
That's
hear
good
each
stuff.
other.
There you go.
All right, now the door's closed. Get me the fuck out of here, man. What the fuck is with all these people out there? What are you, nuts? No, they're absolutely lovely people. It's been a wonderful
Awesome.
con so far. Gary throws a hell of a con, V and otherwise.
Awesome. That was my first question out the gate, was how the week's treated you. I mean, how many days have you spent there? Has it just been today, or has it been more?
Got here last night, so this is the first day that I've actually been at the con, and
Nice.
my lord, people couldn't have been nicer. Welcoming.
Awesome.
You know, it's the world being what it is. If you say NFT, you know, on online, you're going to get a bunch of reactions, not all of them positive.
Absolutely.
Here, nothing but fucking positive.
Oh, for
like,
sure.
oh my God, this place reminds me of like Comic-Con circa 1998. And I'm not shitting on Comic-Con and saying it's corporate or something, but it's, you know, it's definitely not what it was in 1998. In 1998, it was community oriented. It was about the audience, about the fans, the creators, as well as the fans. And there was a chance for them to interact. This absolutely feels like that. So as a guy who's been around for a red hot minute, it was nice to see that old good times can return. Somebody just asked me before, like a very serious question. They were just like, you know, you were there when indie film boom happened in the 90s. Does this feel like this at all? And I was like, right now, in terms of like NFTs, absolutely. I said, look, I can't speak to the financials of crypto. That's not my forte. All I could speak to is that I see a playground, a place to make things. I'm a maker, and that's what I like to do, is make things. And I will go to any platform that allows me to express myself. So, you know, I made an independent film back in 1993, 94. That was Clerks. That was me expressing myself. And that gave me a job and a career and stuff, but that wasn't enough. So in 1995, we opened viewaskew.com, and it was a web message board website where I'd hang out with the fans and answer questions and stuff. Then in 2000, I was blogging all that time, turned the blogs into a book. Then in 2007, podcasting caught my attention. I was like, you could just do this. I could just tell stories. I got my own radio show. This is nuts. So I started podcasting in 2007. I've just always tried to go wherever somebody will let me like tell a story. And this is where they're letting you tell a story now. This is where I see a big storytelling future. I'm not saying Hollywood's dead or the old system's dead, but I'm saying like, somebody opens up a new playground, just because you're familiar with the old one, don't mean you go down the sliding. You don't go down the sliding board of the new playground. And being around people who are this invigorated about art, because that's what it comes down to. I know a lot of people negatively attack crypto and like, oh, it's a bunch of people trying to get rich, crypto bros and stuff like that. That is not what I see here. That's not what's going on at VCon, and that's not what I've encountered in my journeys across the metaverse and into the world of Web3. What I see and who I meet are a lot of hungry creators who see it the same way I do, which is like, This is a place to play where we could play together, where somebody who is a consumer of your art can suddenly become a collaborator of your art, as we're going to do with the KillRoy NFT. People that buy it have their own KillRoy. They make a short. Guess what? That's going in our sequel. I'm going to do the wraparound stuff. We're making a movie together at that point. So I have not, it's been bliss being here at VCon because there's nary a negative word. It's not like, you know, being online where suddenly a bunch of people don't know what they're talking about, have no interest in your field, and just want to shit talk because it's entertaining, jump on it and crap on you and stuff. And I'm not saying that there are people out there with that don't have valid opinions and whatnot. I'm, you know, I get it. There's some people feel the way they feel. But there are a lot of people that just snipe not even knowing half a thing about a thing. They read a quarter of a story once and they're ready to say like, oh, crypto's killing the environment. Crypto's doing this and whatnot. You know, my point is this. It's like, go move past the politicization of any of that and look at what's there. It's a safe place for creators to go and be with other creators, to build an audience. And that's important to any creator. They're kicking me out of this business day by day. The older I get, the less I can offer the people in Hollywood and stuff like that. But here, oh my Lord, man, I could build my audience and we can create stuff together. I keep the angles so weird. I keep trying to, I keep drifting off camera. I got to remember to just go left, back and to the left.
Yes.
But I'm telling you, being here has been exciting. I was telling Dave Shapiro, who's my partner, he runs Semcor, the producers on the movie, and he was the one that I first said to. I was like, has anybody ever released an NFT, film as an NFT? And he was like, no, but I smell what you're cooking. And he backed my play. He backed the play. We're playing this because I had a producer who wasn't afraid to step into the future. Like, I just made Clerks 3 over at Lionsgate. Those people are wonderful, don't get me wrong. But if I turned around to Lionsgate tomorrow and said, I think I want to release Clerks 3 as an MP, as an NFT. I think I want to take it into Web3. I think I want to metaverse release this. They'd be like, you're talking crazy. They'd try to have you committed and they'd say no right off the bat. But instead I had a collaborator who was just like, a film as an NFT has never been done before. Number one, it'll be something historic. Number two, it's going to pave the way for a bunch of other would-be filmmakers who are like, this is possible now? All right, there's a place where I could take my movie that maybe nobody picked up anyplace else. Maybe this is one more place where I could tell my story. Maybe this is the successful place where the story connects and gets told. Because all you need is one audience, ladies and gentlemen. You don't need the biggest audience. You need an audience. And even if it's one person, word of mouth spreads. You create something that makes that person excited, they will not stop talking about it. So at the end of the day, man, we could have this world I've always dreamed of, which was like, what if I wanted to make a movie for just 5,000 people? What if I knew the subject matter was so inside baseball that like it would be fruitless to make a $10 million or $20 million movie or something like that? But what if there was a movie that could be made for an audience that specifically wanted to see it, man? Very small, not that different from Kickstarter. I was telling someone earlier today, I was like, look, I'm a little ashamed, but years ago, before we made Red State, we created a website called Red State Green. And the intention was, you know, we were going to crowdsource finance the movie before that was a thing, before Kickstarter even existed. Like, you know, Scott Mosier and I, we were on Smodcast, one of the first episodes, talking about how I had 1 million followers on MySpace in those days. And I was like, well, if we got $1 from each one of them, we can make a fucking movie. We don't need anybody else. And so I was going to take that into test it. And we built a website. And then I did an interview. I was up in Canada doing an interview for something unrelated. And they said, what are you working on next? I said, well, this Red State movie I've always been trying to make, but we can't get made. I was like, I think we're going to make it like by turning to the audience and letting them finance it. And that person wrote an article that said, ew, Kevin Smith is going to beg for money for his next movie. And that scared me because I was afraid of being judged. And I backed away from it. We shut the website down. We never took it public, never talked about it ever again, and traditionally went out and found money to make that movie. And then 1 year later, somebody created Kickstarter. And then not too long after that, Zach Braff was the first person to crowdsource finance a film. And I could have been that, except I was too cowardly because I heard some bad words because somebody said something that was like negative. Well, let me tell you something. they say negative stuff every day of my career, my public career. I mean, they didn't say negative stuff about me before I made Clerks. They didn't know who I was. But from the moment I made Clerks forward, there's never been a day gone by where there's not some stranger online telling me how I suck and I'm doing my life all wrong. So this is one of those occasions, man, where we were talking about taking KillRoy into the NFT space that I was like, I don't give a shit if a bunch of people are going to like fucking crank out at me and tell me like, oh my God, you're killing the environment with this NFT. I was like, number one, you don't even know what you're talking about, particularly when it comes to Secret Network and what they're working on, their technology particularly. But regardless, man, it's like they're going to gripe. They're going to say the things they're going to say. They've been doing that since the first movie. There were people when I were making Clerks, they were like, why do you think you could do this? You know, there's always naysayers. And I got scared that one time, or I got embarrassed, and I let them naysay me out of what would have been a really strong, good idea and a historic first. And I will never let that happen to me again, man, particularly in this moment in time where I'm like, KillRoy is the perfect movie to bring into this space, to bring into the metaverse, man, to bring into Web3 by virtue of the fact that we made a movie first, but the next time we do it, we're going to make a movie with the people that bought the first movie. Like, what a great idea that is. I couldn't get away with that almost any place else. No studio would back that play. And studios are paying attention, because when I announced over a year ago that we were going to auction the movie, I heard from no less than 3 studio people, 2 of which still work in the business, one who ran a studio but hasn't run a studio in a minute and stuff. But all 3 of them were like, everyone's watching, because
Wow.
they all want to get into the space. Are you fucking kidding me? If there's a single eyeball to be found, of course they want to try to find it themselves.
Sure.
So they're all watching to see what happens with KillRoy. If KillRoy works, we may be the first movie minted as an NFT, but I damn skippy we won't be the last. And that won't be me being the second. Someone else, some studio's going to rush in here and be like, here's Star Wars as an NFT. I'm telling you, they're coming. They're paying attention to this field because they think there may be money involved. Now, based on what's happened in the last week or so, you know, you got some people maybe second guessing the money. That's good for a person like me, because I ain't in it for the cash. I'm in it for the creative space. And when the dust settles on all this, that's who's going to be left. A bunch of creators who want to put things together, who want to self-express. And using NFTs is just one more way for us to do it, if not the only way. Because one day, whoever gives me money to make things is going to be like, we're done. We're tired of your ideas. Jay and Silent Bob is stupid. You've done it for 30 years. And so guess what? It doesn't going to mean the end of my self-expression. I'm still going to want to self-express, but I'm glad that I now have another place to go to where I won't be worried. If they tell me you're done here, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go back over here where I already had a good time with KillRoy, where we had a great time with KillRoy 2, the forthcoming KillRoy 2, once the audience gets involved, and where I can continue to have fun with Jay and Silent Bob if I want to. Jay and Silent Bob are perfect characters for the blockchain, for the metaverse, for heaven's sake. And I've been building my own metaverse for the better part of 30 years, the View Askewniverse, man. That's why David Shapiro and I have been talking about with Semcor about going deep and building a View Askewniverse metaverse, because it exists. I've already built these relationships in these towns that cross all these movies. So why not make it something that people could go into? Why not make it like you could go into Brody's house, for heaven's sakes, or something like that? Why not walk into a movies, order food, and then go into a movie theater and watch KillRoy, you know, in the metaverse of the View Askewniverse? So it's a playground, man. It's good times. And anybody who's like, oh, they just want to make money off of it, don't understand that it's not about money. Look at my whole career. It's never been about money. It's about what is fun, what hasn't been done yet. How can I self-express? Where can I go and spread Kevin Smith one more place, so that maybe one more set of earballs hears about me, one more set of eyeballs lays on me? And right now, this is the funnest place in town. Like, the joy, the energy here in this room it's palpable, man. Before we even got into the place, you're being meted and greeted by people who are just fucking delighted to be here because they've seen the future, and we're standing at the threshold of it. So it's been absolutely lovely. If you haven't been able to get to a VCon, kids, like, try next year. It's worth your time. I had a moment before, like, here, this is my biggest moment of VCon, the moment that'll mean the most to me, and I'll never forget for the rest of my life. Spike Lee was here. Okay. So if anybody's like, oh, Kevin Smith, he ain't a legitimate filmmaker. Spike fucking Lee is here, ladies and gentlemen. He's a goddamn Academy Award-winning legitimate filmmaker and stuff. And I've known Spike off and on through the years. I've seen him at things. He's been a hero of mine. He's a person without whom I probably wouldn't have ever done what I do. A damn Skippy wouldn't have made Clerks, and a damn Skippy would not have opened Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, my comic book store, which just celebrated its 25th year in business, if I hadn't gone to Spike's joint when I was a kid and bought like a Malcolm X jersey and a 40 Acres and a Mule shirt and stuff like that. So I bomb by to say hi to him and whatnot. And he pulls me over and he goes, we're still here. We're still doing it. And that we meant the fucking world to me, man, because it was he. He was doing it before I was. Like, he was doing it like, shit, 5, 6, maybe 10 years before I was. No, I think 5 or 6 years before I was. So he's a senior in this business. For him to include me in that with the royal we and say we're still here, and both of us, 2 kids who are old now, but like when we started our careers, we were at the cutting edge. Both of us started our careers with black and white movies and whatnot. We are still here. And if we're interested in this field, it's got to tell you something. And, you know, I don't think of Spike Lee as a guy who chases the almighty dollar. He's a storyteller, and he'll tell stories any way possible. This is a man who put a movie out that was shot on video, remember, back in the day. So, like, if he's here, that should validate it for anybody who question marks me, who's like, well, Silent Bob, he's not really an authority on anything. Spike Lee, ladies and gentlemen, is the real filmmaking deal, and even he's here and stuff. So I had a wonderful moment with him at VCon. VCon is just a place where magic happens, kids.
And I'm sure you've already been told this many times since you got into this space, but there's a lot of people in this space just like you, like-minded individuals who looked at traditional banking, the traditional way of doing things out there, and said, nah, I want to do it my way. I want to do it better. This way is better. So you already are stepping into a world of creative people who are not afraid to go against the grain. You fit in so, I'm not trying to bundle you up. You fit in so well. I've not met one person in this space who turned their nose up at the thought of you. Everyone's a fan. I promise you that.
That means the world. The people who turn their nose up are people who aren't even involved in the space. And
Very
I can't
good point.
Those people. There are people who are critics everywhere. People criticize that which they do understand, don't matter. I don't have time for that. I had a heart attack 4 years ago and change, man. Like, I'm living on borrowed time. So if I'm a guy who like can go at any minute because I got my bad ticker, do you think I'd be fucking around in a space unless I saw future in it? I see future here, man, and I see kindred spirits and souls. You're absolutely right. There's a lot of people who think like me. A lot of people who are like, look, I'm not going through the front door. They don't want me through the front door. No one's welcoming me through the front door. No one's taking me through the front door. But it doesn't mean that I don't get to be in the house. So I'm going to go through the back door. I'm going to go through a window. I'm going to go through the storm drain, whatever the fuck it is that's going to get me inside, because why not? It's not just for the entitled. Creativity, self-expression's for everybody. And this is a field full of people who are self-expressing, whether it's just a simple picture of art, and there's nothing simple about art if it makes you feel something, and that's what art's all about, to spoken word. I met a guy who was like, I did the first spoken word film as an NFT. This is a field where people can say things like that. You can never go say, like, I made the first YouTube video. Like, your time has passed. There's no chance. But in this field, you could literally say things like, I made the first spoken word NFT. And a guy laid claim, and I didn't balk for 1 second. I was like, I bet you did. Because that's very specific, my friend. So I love meeting the kindred spirits, man. I've been greeted by so many people who are makers themselves, who maybe necessarily don't mint NFTs, but they are drawn to this world as well. So on both sides, it's people who create and it's people who consume. And I welcome that. I like being welcomed by those people. I'm 51. So if there are young people that are like, hey, man, you're still cool, of course I feel great about that. And in this space, that's what they're doing. They're not telling me, like, get out of here, old man. Your fucking time is past. Nobody cares about your fucking opinion. They welcome you. They're like, they thank me for bringing credibility or something, as if I could even do that. I'm like, thanks, Spike Lee. I keep pointing because he's literally like right over there. See that purple? That's Spike Lee. So at the end of the day, like, when they thank me, I don't know what to do except thank them back for creating a field where I can feel at home. One more place where I could go play. If I was making Clerks today, kids, I'd probably be doing it right here in this space. I wouldn't be doing it going like, how do I sell this to a studio? There's so much content out there, I'd never get noticed, but I could get noticed in the NFT space. I could get noticed with a very hardcore audience of people who love art. And that's kind of what the space is. It's fine art appreciators and people who make fine art. And it doesn't even have to be necessarily fine art and stuff. It's art on any level, whatever it makes a person feel, that's valid. And so, you know, I don't make Star Wars. I don't make something that's going to please 400 million people at once. But what I do pleases a very distinctive group of people to a degree that makes them keep coming back for more. I've had an audience that's been following me for like 30 years at this point. And I'm happy to be in a space where I can bring them into the space with me. I can meet new members of that, a growing audience, hopefully grow the audience and stuff. That's what every artist wants. There's no such thing as, oh, too many people are familiar with me. Are you kidding me? Like, especially the older one gets, the less hip one becomes. You know, most of my best storytelling is behind me, they say. I disagree. I'm telling a great story right here, man. And I'm not just talking about KillRoy, which is wonderful, but the story of us moving into the space and trying for this adventure, seeing what's possible, joining creative young forces as they start their journey, helping them augment theirs while they help me augment my old ass journey. Oh, that's thrilling. When I was a kid, I used to dream about like one day we could have film collectives where anybody who wants a camera can get their hands on it. I don't have to dream about it anymore because everyone who wants a camera has one in their hands at all times now. Anybody can make media at this point. And I want to make media with some of these kids, man, who are way more talented than me. That's what I look forward to about KillRoy the sequel, doing KillRoy's Back or whatever we wind up calling it. You know, right now, the best KillRoy shorts are mine because I'm the only one that shot them. When the people who buy the KillRoy NFT take their KillRoy and make their own shorts and cartoons, that's what's going to make up the lion's share of the KillRoy sequel. We're going to see people with better films than mine. You know, I'm going to have the wraparound sandwich device to keep the whole movie together, all the different stories, because it's anthology, right? So you can have many different stories as long as there's a framing device. But we're going to find that there are filmmakers way more talented than me that do really wicked stuff with their KillRoy character and wind up like in the movie next to me. And, you know, I'm not saying the next James Cameron's going to come from there, but like Jim Cameron worked on Piranha 2, The Spawning. Like he was a guy that worked in you know, he wasn't born into the world as Jim Cameron. He grew to be Jim Cameron and stuff. So I could have a chance to be working shoulder to shoulder on the KillRoy sequel with the next Jim Cameron, you know, who like right now in time, I'm somebody giving that person a break. But if I'm lucky and I'm smart, those cats grow to become world-class filmmakers. And then when I'm 70, I'm turning to them to give me a break and stuff. That's how this thing goes forward. We each help each other out. And I'm ready to help people out right now, man. I'm ready to showcase their art. They can make a KillRoy film just like I did. And we're going to make a sequel together. That to me is exciting. And if I said to Lionsgate, we just made Clerks 3 with them. I said, hey, Clerks 4, I'm going to make it with a bunch of strangers and shit. And they're all going to own a piece of it. Lionsgate would be like, how the fuck is that going to work? But I could do that here. I could do a thing where I'm like, everyone who makes a KillRoy short is going to own a piece of that movie. And when it gets bought going forward, they own a piece of that as well. So I don't know. To me, it's an exciting time. It's an exciting field to be in. I'm no communist. It would be nice if I could make money here, but making money was never the point of anything I've ever done. You don't look at Clerks and go like, well, there's a guy who is making investments in you know, financial investments. You just see a guy who is desperate to be considered a storyteller, to have people go like, you know what? You are what you believe that you are. Validation. That's what I look for more than money. And I get a lot of validation in this field, man. So far, within the space, within the metaverse, within crypto, within the NFT space, nothing but support for us bringing KillRoy into the space. And anybody who is like interested and whatnot, you can go to KillRoy Was Here.io right now to sign up for, like, you know, you can be one of the first, you get a cool bonus and shit like that. For when the drop happens, I keep forgetting the drop happens July 1st. We're still a little ways away from it, which is fine because I get to talk about all the reasons I'm in the space for it in the first place. But when that drop happens, like, it's not even like, this is what blows my mind. That's why I like being in business with Legendow and Secret. Like, they could have come at me with like a ridiculous price for what the NFT is going to be. And I would have been like, all right, I guess, especially based on what other people pay for NFTs in space. Our price is so fucking affordable. It's crazy. Like it makes sense. And it's kind of the future. You know, I know in this space, a lot of people like sexy numbers, like this sold for 5 million, blah, blah, blah. But our NFT is crazy affordable, man. And that's going to bring people in who've never been in before. People who aren't like, well, I don't have ETH to spend, but I do have $300 or $250, whatever it is. I think I'm going to try this. And in trying it could open up a brand new world to them, not just as collectors, but also as collaborators. So as you can tell, I'm like really excited about it. And this day has like only solidified it even more, because there's nobody out here and nobody in here going like, this is stupid, you're stupid, you should stop what you're doing, you should think, any of that. It's been nothing but love and support, and people going like, I understand you, I see you, because you're me. A lot of mirrors around here. I'm seeing a lot of familiarity in the space.
Yeah, and talking about VCon, you've got another big event in Austin coming up the first week of June. You're going to be the special guest at the secret party. I'll be there. Secret Network will be represented. It's going to be a fabulous time, and I know you're looking forward to that. What are you thinking about Austin moving ahead to that? I'm sure you're expecting much of the same like you had today.
It's going to be a lot of the same vibes, but what we're going to be able to do here, which we didn't do here, is show some movie. We're going to share that movie with those folks and whatnot.
Yes.
So they could see what we're getting into. So that's going to be fun. We talked about maybe trying it here, but the event is so large, so massive. So we're holding it for Decentralized, which is going to be fantastic, man. So expect that. Expect a lot of hang and chill time, a lot of warm vibes and whatnot. I'm around to answer questions. Like, that's all I do. I'm chairman emeritus status in my career at this point, elder statesman. So I could just give perspective and whatnot. Like Spike said, so I'm one of the old timers at this point. So just like today, after I came off stage, I was hanging out backstage. A few people shot videos with me, but then afterwards they were like, hey man, can I just talk to you? And they just want to pick your brain, man. That was the one guy asked me the question about, does it feel like it felt like when you sold Clerks? And I was like, what a great question. It absolutely does, which is why I'm here. Like, I'm drawn to this because I'm trying to replicate an experience that happened to me nearly 30 years ago, which was one of the creative zeniths of my existence as a creator. So this feels like that. You know, this has all the freedom of Tusk, of making Tusk. Going like, you know what, this may not be for everybody, but the people who love this shit are going to fucking absolutely love it.
You've teased the future, so I have to ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot. What are you thinking for the future? Have you got something in mind? Do you have something in the works? Anything you can talk about? I mean, give us some alpha, as they say.
I'm telling you, man, we're looking at me and Dave Shapiro, who's my partner, Dave Shapiro over there from Semcor. We've been talking about metaversing it, building our own View Universe metaverse, Jay and Silent Bob land, if you will. And in that world, like, we could keep doing what we're doing. Like, you know, KillRoy is our introduction to this world. Really, the Smoking Tokens that we did the drop last year and a half ago. We did Jay and Silent Bob's Crypto Studio Smoking Token drops. And some of those cats that bought the Platinum tokens are actually in Clerks 3. So we've been mixing, you know, going like, okay, here's an NFT thing that brings you into a mixed media experience, man. There are like 10 people who are literally in Clerks 3 because of the Platinum Smoking token. So what could we get up to with a View Universe metaverse as well? Like, not just like meeting in the metaverse, but then also you pick up enough shit, then we have the real world meeting at the same time. These people are the people who are going to finance some of my art going forward, because like any good DAO, I could turn to our community and be like, hey, I'm thinking about making, for example, Moose Jaws, a movie which I've been talking about making for years, and everyone's like, when's it going to happen? I was like, well, perhaps this is how it happens. Perhaps it's meant to manifest here in the metaverse. Perhaps it's meant to manifest more specifically in our forthcoming Universe metaverse from Semcor. So like, that's the playground we're kind of thinking about and building. But in the immediate future, because we're looking at that within the next 6 months to a year. But after the drop on July 1st of KillRoy Was Here, hopefully immediately we start talking about the sequel. Because once everybody gets their KillRoy, their generative piece of art with their completely original KillRoy, that's theirs, their IP, they can do with it whatever they want. We don't own it, they do. bam, man, that means the wheels start turning and you get a bunch of creatives. I've met a lot of filmmakers already here. A bunch of creatives going to start shooting their stuff, and we're going to be able to start building that sequel before year's end, which means that I could shoot my wraparound of that. Oh, yes. Then after that, it's straight into our metaverse project. The Askewniverse come to life for real in the metaverse.
Love it. Love it. I got to ask you, I'm a wrestling guy too, so I got to ask you about Chris Jericho.
I love Jericho.
I know you've worked with him in the past. He mentioned on a pod 2 or 3 months ago about possibly doing something as an NFT as well. So I know he's wholly getting invested in this also. How cool is it to be involved with another creator that you already know, sort of coming in with you at the same time?
I got to take a little credit. I was the one who brought him into the space, man. He knows, he's very good friends with David Shapiro, my partner at Semcor. And so I knew Chris from out in the world doing podcasts with him and stuff. And then putting him in the movies. He's been in like Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, and KillRoy Was Here. He's one of the stars of KillRoy Was Here. So when I told him at first about like, hey, we're thinking about doing this movie as an NFT, he got very interested in the space. He met with David and stuff. So him and David have been talking about doing something very cool. I got the inside dope in it, but I can't share it. But it is fucking dazzling, man, the projects that they're putting together. So it's nice to see these folks come out and be creative. And like Jericho's another creative guy. He's like a Renaissance man like me. He's not a guy who's sniffing around for how to make a buck. He can make more than enough money wrestling, you know, with AEW and you know, he's the king of the bubbly, for heaven's sake. So he's utterly fine when it comes to that. When he gets involved in creative endeavors, it's not because he's like, what's going to make me the most money? It's because it appeals to his creative soul. So him doing what he's doing in this space, also not a guy going like, let me get rich. It's a guy going like, wait a second. Here's a space where I could be considered seriously as a storyteller. Because that's all he does in wrestling. He's a storyteller in wrestling. He's an athlete, don't get me wrong, but like he tells stories every damn episode. So he's a very gifted storyteller. If you've ever listened to his podcast, Talk is Jericho, he's a very gifted storyteller. Why not take that into a creative space like the NFT space, which him and David have been doing, and what they're working on is Mo Juice.
Jeff's kiss, as they say.
Jeff's kiss. Oh my God, well done. Yes.
I'm a fanboy. I can't help it.
I appreciate that.
But yeah, so I agree. He is a creative guy. I mean, I was asking about the future. Honestly, it's wide open, right? I mean, you could do anything you wanted to in this space. I mean, and it's going to be I can tell you it's going to be well received for sure. And as I said, it's wide open. Is there anything you would personally like to tackle? Is there a project maybe you've tried in what I'll call the real world, maybe a Mallrats 2 perhaps, or something like that, that you're like, hey, why not throw it over here?
Mallrats 2 would be difficult because that's owned by Universal, but it's only difficult if there's no money figure involved. Like if I could walk into a Universal after KillRoy and be like, look, see what we did with that? Let me make Mallrats over there. You guys are never going to do it. Let me make it there. That could be a possibility. The stronger possibility, though, is Moose Jaws. That's a movie, my white whale of a movie that I've been thinking about making for years and stuff. And everyone loves the idea. Everyone's like, what is it? I'm like, it's Jaws, but with a moose instead of a shark. And then people are like, oh, that's funny. But nobody wants to invest in it. This is the place where I bet you I can make it happen, man. I bet you we could put together a DAO that provides what we need to pull off Moose Jaws. And we have our audience built right in for it. Like, I'm okay with that. I saw somebody when we talked about, hey, there's only going to be like 5,000 KillRoy NFTs. Somebody was like, wait, so like only 5,000 people will ever get to watch this? That makes no sense. That's not true. The movie will come out traditionally in other ways as well down the road. Trust me. But more importantly, it's like, as an artist, let me tell you something. I'm okay with less people seeing a thing. Number one, as Kevin Smith, less people see my shit all the time anyway. But even a percentage of a percentage makes you kind of bulletproof in some cases because you can't please everybody. But imagine if we're making Moose Jaws for only the people that want to see Moose Jaws. That's it. Like, we're going to please them all. They're all going to be happy campers. They're involved in every step of the production. You know, it's not, again, not dissimilar to the Kickstarter experience, but way more sense of ownership this time around for people who are involved in it than folks who just kind of back productions. And I'm not poo-pooing it. Any way you get your art made, God bless. Smod bless, man. It's tough to get your self-expression out there if you need a little money to do it and stuff. So by hook or by crook, as long as you don't hurt somebody or steal their money and stuff, you know, if you can raise money to make your art, God bless. Smod bless. But that being said, I would love the idea of just making the art for the only for the people who are ever going to see it. Because, and this is very selfish, I'll never get a bad review. You know what I'm saying?
It's
Like,
true.
I make these movies, man, and they get watched by a bunch of people who don't give a fuck about me or my world. And they're like, this is haphazard and ridiculous. He's a terrible filmmaker. I show it to the people who it's made for, nothing but love. So, like, you know, the idea of like, hey, you can just play to your audience, which is exactly what it's like in NFTs, in crypto. Oh, my Lord. Like, that's a welcome thing for somebody who for 30 years has been told by strangers how bad he sucks at what he does. You know, it'd be nice to be able to make something that just across the boards everybody liked because it was made literally for them. And that's kind of what I've been doing for the last few years anyway, just making movies, Kevin Smith movies for a Kevin Smith audience. And I found that people leave us alone. Jay and Silent Bob reboot, man. I expected we'd get crucified and stuff like while we're on tour and reviews would be terrible and stuff. But I just went off and did my thing, concentrated on my audience, and it worked out insanely well. We broke records, and we actually got like pretty decent reviews, if that matters. So always go after your vision, kids. Don't let people talk you out of anything. Don't, you know, anything you want to try to achieve in this life, you should try to achieve it before you leave this world, unless what you want to achieve is hunting humans or killing children. Nobody wants that. Don't hurt anybody in this life. Make people's lives better while you make your own better. I'm not saying be altruistic, okay? I'm saying, like, look, do what you want to do, but if what you want to do helps other people, helps make them feel good and stuff, helps open up the world to them, I just told Spike Lee before I went and took a selfie with him after we talked. I said, look, I just want to thank you because you kept giving, because you made your journey, I made mine. Not just because you were a filmmaker, but even he had a store called Spike's Joint in Brooklyn years ago that I went to in like 1991, 92. And I bought a Malcolm X jersey, Malcolm X hat, a 40 Acres and a Mule jersey, a Mars Blackman shirt. I was a big fan. And I was like, this guy, he's a filmmaker. And they're out there. I was going to show you them walking up the stairs. But he's a filmmaker. He's known for making films. But here he is with his own little store selling T-shirts and merchandise. I was like, man, that's the way to do it. If I was ever that guy, ... And guess what? This year, we celebrate 25 years of Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, my brick and mortar store where I sell T-shirts of myself and my friends. So I gave him props for that. I was like, not only like did you open my eyes to the possibility of filmmaking, but you also opened my eyes to the possibility of having fun having a store. I'll never retire off Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash. It's not enough to support a family or anything, but it ekes out just enough profit to stay alive every year and be the place where you can go and buy T-shirts and the clubhouse and stuff like that. So like, I was so happy to give him props for that, to be able to say like, because you made your journey, I made my journey and stuff. And I know you weren't trying to talk to me. And he said, what do you mean by that? I was like, well, I know there are a lot of me-looking people out there in the world and stuff like that. And he goes, has nothing to do with that. He's going, look, I'm a teacher, and it's important you reach all the students. And he's like, who you reach is who you reach. And that was meaningful, bro. That happened at VCon. That happened because I got into the NFT space. I was never having that conversation with Spike at any other time, except in this moment of time. That's the good that came to me from being in the crypto space. So I know there are a lot of people like pouncing on it right now. There's a bunch of articles of people being like, oh, crypto is exploding and shit. I have nothing to say about the financials of it because I'm not smart enough. I'm not a math guy. I'm not a money guy. I'm a creative. And what I see is a creative field and a creative art form and a platform where I could go and say my things and hopefully be heard by an audience. And if it's good enough for fucking Spike Lee to be here today, let me tell you, it's good enough for any filmmaker, and they're all coming. Do you know how many panels are going on at the Cannes this year, at the Quazette, all about NFTs and Web3 and stuff? Like the same way that 20 years ago, they were telling people the internet's coming, the internet's coming. Now they're telling them Web3 is coming, and a lot of people in my line of work are starting to pay attention. So I'm happy to be in the field before anybody else jumped into the field, before it gets drenched with studios and stuff like that and other filmmakers. And it's a privilege and an honor to be here.
That's awesome. I know you just got off stage. I don't want to keep you forever, but as much time as you have, we'll take it. But you tell me when you need to go, and it's all good.
They're pulling me right now because I got to do another press interview and stuff. They just looked at me. They're like, supposed to be half an hour, but I can talk. Obviously, I love the sound of my own voice.
I wasn't going to cut you off. Any time we can have with you has been awesome. We appreciate you taking the time for sure.
I appreciate the community. They've been so welcoming to me and stuff. All the KillRoy kids. And this is before We've even had the drop. People have been so welcoming. I've seen such lovely tweets from people who are like, Kevin Smith is doing something revolutionary. And let me tell you something, the older Smith gets, the fewer and far between that I ever hear that anymore. You know, I started my career as a maverick or whatever the hell, but like the older one gets, the more part of the institution you become. To have a bunch of people calling me radical in a good way, you know, and have a bunch of people being like, hey man, he sees the future in a good way. That has felt amazing. And that's what everyone in this community has made me feel so far. To thank everybody from Legend Dow, Secret Network, everybody in the community, Guy, like everyone across the board. It's been a lovely experience so far. Can't wait for the fucking drop.
Yeah, we love having you. We can't wait till Austin. So
yes,
again,
Austin first. Austin before the drop.
There you go. Kevin, we appreciate your time again. Thank you very much.
No problem. Seeing you. Thank you for letting me chat and talk as long as I did.
Absolutely. Anytime. Can't wait to have you back on, and we'll see you in Texas.
I see you in Texas. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Kev. All right, guys, that's what we got for you. Thanks for watching. Please stay tuned to Secret Network social media, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. We'll keep you up to date on Austin as we continue on the road to DCentral. Thanks again for watching, folks. We'll see you next time.